Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something that affects every single one of us daily, often without us even realizing it, the psychology of decision-making. Why do we make certain choices while others seem more difficult? Why do some decisions feel instinctual, while others require intense thought? Understanding the mechanics behind our decision-making can give us insights into human behavior, our motivations, and how to make better choices. Let's explore how our minds work when making decisions. The process of decision-making is incredibly complex, involving various parts of the brain that each play a crucial role. Two of the most important regions are the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. Prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain is responsible for rational thought, planning, and problem-solving. It helps us weigh the pros and cons of a decision, consider long-term consequences, and use logic. It's what allows us to make careful, deliberate decisions. Limbic system, on the other hand, the limbic system governs our emotions, instincts, and impulses. This is the more primal part of the brain, and it's often involved in emotional, immediate decisions, like whether to eat the extra slice of cake or buy something on impulse. The interplay between these two systems determines how we make decisions. When we face a decision, the emotional brain reacts first, but the rational brain eventually steps in to help balance out impulsivity with logic. This is why, for example, a big life decision like moving to a new city might feel emotional at first, but after some thought, we start considering things like job prospects, cost of living, and lifestyle. Our brains use mental shortcuts, known as heuristics, to make quick decisions. While these shortcuts are useful, they can also lead to errors in judgment known as cognitive biases. Let's look at some of the most common biases that affect our decision-making. Confirmation bias. We tend to seek out information that confirms what we already believe, while ignoring data that challenges our views. This bias makes us overconfident in our decisions, even when they might be flawed. Anchoring bias. This occurs when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, known as the anchor. For example, if you see a car priced at $30,000, any price lower than that seems like a good deal, even if it's still more than the car's true value. Availability heuristic. We make decisions based on the information that is most readily available to us. For instance, if you've recently heard about a plane crash, you may overestimate the risk of flying, even though statistically it's one of the safest forms of travel. Loss aversion. People tend to prefer avoiding losses over acquiring equivalent gains. This is why the fear of losing money in the stock market can make us more risk-averse, even when the potential gains outweigh the risks. Understanding these biases can help us make more informed, rational decisions by recognizing when our brain is leading us astray. It's impossible to talk about decision-making without discussing the role of emotions. Emotions are deeply intertwined with our choices, often guiding us when logic and reason fall short. But this isn't always a bad thing. Emotions can serve as valuable information. For example, the feeling of fear might prevent us from making a dangerous choice, while excitement can push us toward a new opportunity. Psychologist Antonio DiMaggio introduced the concept of the somatic marker hypothesis, which suggests that our emotions create markers in the brain that help guide decision-making, especially in complex or uncertain situations. However, emotions can also mislead us. Stress and anxiety, for instance, often lead to poor decision-making because they narrow our focus and make us more impulsive. Have you ever made a rash decision in a moment of panic, only to regret it later? That's your brain on stress. Finding the right balance between emotion and reason is key to making good decisions. Have you ever found it difficult to make decisions after a long day? This is known as decision fatigue. The more choices we make throughout the day, the more our mental energy depletes, leading to poorer decisions as the day progresses. In a famous study, judges were found to be more likely to grant parole early in the day than late in the afternoon, suggesting that even legal decisions are affected by decision fatigue. To combat this, many experts suggest reducing the number of trivial decisions we make. This is why successful people like Steve Jobs famously wore the same outfit every day, to save mental energy for more important decisions. Simplifying choices in areas that don't matter as much can free up cognitive resources for more significant decisions. It might seem counterintuitive, but having too many choices can actually make decision-making harder. Psychologist Barry Schwartz explored this in his book, The Paradox of Choice. He found that while people often assume more choices are better, too many options can lead to choice overload, making it harder to make a decision at all. When we're faced with endless options, whether it's choosing a movie on Netflix or selecting a product online, we can feel overwhelmed. This often leads to analysis paralysis, where we struggle to decide because we fear making the wrong choice. Interestingly, having too many options can also lead to dissatisfaction with the decision we eventually make, because we keep wondering if we could have chosen better. Limiting choices and focusing on what's truly important can make decision-making easier and more satisfying. Human beings are social creatures, and the decisions we make are often influenced by others. This phenomenon is known as social influence. There are several ways this can manifest. Peer pressure, the desire to fit in with a group, can lead us to make decisions we wouldn't normally make on our own. For example, you might choose to buy a certain brand because it's popular among your friends, even if you don't personally prefer it. Authority influence, we often defer to experts or authority figures when making decisions, assuming that they know best. This is why marketing strategies frequently involve endorsements from celebrities or industry leaders. Social proof, when we see others doing something, we're more likely to follow suit. This is why online reviews and testimonials can heavily influence our purchasing decisions. Recognizing these social influences can help us make more autonomous choices that align with our true preferences and values. The psychology of decision-making is a fascinating, multifaceted process shaped by brain function, emotions, cognitive biases, and social influences. By understanding the factors that influence our decisions, we can become more mindful and intentional in the choices we make. Whether it's simplifying daily decisions to avoid fatigue, recognizing cognitive biases, or balancing emotion and logic, we have the power to improve the way we decide.